Hello, everyone, and welcome to the StarCityGames.com Dallas Open Semifinals. Cedric Phillips, Todd Anderson here in the booth, Nick Miller down there in the feature match area. Going to get our match in front of you underway here as we're going to focus our attention on the Grixis Delver Mirror here and legacy of our team constructed open between Chad Harney and Tan and Grace. But we've got other matches, of course, in Red-Black Vengevine in the hands of Joe Stempo against Ross Merriam playing Humans, and then John Philip Whetstone on Mono Red Aggro against Black-Blue Midrange in the hands of Brennan DeCandio. But as I mentioned, we focus our attention on Harney and Grace, as Tan and Grace is the only member of Team BCW without a SCG Tour Open win. He wants one desperately, and they were so close in Baltimore earlier this year where this team of Grace, Merriam, and DeCandio, they are close once again, and we'll see if they can get the job done here, as a Lightning Bolt's going to go after a Delver of Secrets, and we might see a Wasteland take care of a Volcanic Island here in just a moment, folks.
So that's an interesting play from Harney. He's actually giving Tannen the option to use Daze to save his land. I actually like, just if you're going to be Wastelanding this turn, Wasteland before you even bother casting the Lightning Bolt. That way they don't have the option to Daze and make sure that they have a land next turn.
Grace will draw a card. He'll play a Wasteland. He'll Wasteland back. He says, you want to Wasteland me? I'll Wasteland you. Let's see who's actually got any lands around here. A basic island? Pardon me.
Yeah, it's not the greatest here because it doesn't cast like Gurmag Angler or Lightning Bolt or Young Pyromancer, but at the same time, it can't get hit with a Wasteland.
And there's a Ponder from Tan and Grace.
I think it's also important to have that card in your deck against Blood Moon strategies.
Oh, there's a Daze. So these players doing what Delver matchups generally look like. I think I'm going to see a Wasteland here in just a moment. Yes, kaboom.
Yeah, Wasteland here, a big factor from both sides of the table. If Tannen doesn't have another land, this could end before it even begins.
Well, Tan and Grace does not have another land. Now there's a Delver of Secrets. Grace will draw a card, picked up a Ponder. Looks like he whiffed again. He'll have to be maybe discard, not just yet. So we go back over to Harney. Take a look. Does not reveal an instant or sorcery. So it's just a Delver of Secrets at the moment. Could transform, of course, into Insectile Aberration.
Yeah, both players really light on mana here, but Chad Harney hugely advantaged with a threat on the battlefield and a basic land that can't be hit with Wasteland.
Thoughtseize will go to the graveyard. Checking will Harney for a transformation. It will not happen. He'll attack for one yet again. And now here's another Delver of Secrets. We might see a Forcible here from Grace.
I think he has to. Like, you could get blown out by a Daze here, but if the Delver sticks, you have nothing going on. You need to do something.
There is Daze. Grace draws. Looks like he misses again. If these transform, ooh, he faded it. Another Wasteland there for Chad Harney, however.
Yeah, if these ever flip, Tannen's just stone dead. Especially if he doesn't draw a land right now. Oh, he drew one.
He may have drawn a Delta.
Yeah, I think he also has, oh, I guess it was a Pyromancer. I thought he might have a Lightning Bolt, so he's still in a lot of trouble.
There is Pluto Delta.
Harney also drew a Wasteland last turn.
He sure did. So Grace's next land is likely dead unless he searches for his basic island, which he won't. He'll get a Volcanic Island.
Now, I know Wasteland mirrors can be gross sometimes. This is definitely a, you're seeing it on display here, how powerful that card is in fair Wasteland v. Wasteland matchups. However, it was significantly worse when Deathrite Shaman was in the format.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you led with Deathrite and your opponent was going to Wasteland you, it was just awful. And if you were the Deathrite Shaman player who also Wastelanded, the game ended on the spot.
Yeah. Insectile Aberrations are now on the battlefield. Wasteland's going to take care of that Volcanic Island, and now we may be done, especially because the reveal there was a Spell Pierce. Spell Pierce can counter the next spell for Tan and Grace.
Yeah, he has a black source here, but it looks like he still has no way to interact with Insectile Aberration.
And this is a Delver Mirror Legacy here, folks. I can let you know one thing. Ross Merriam, who's had a heck of a tournament here with his Humans deck, he is going to win game number one there over Joe Stempo. You see Tan and Grace concede. So for Grace, who you can see a little bit of frustration there, he can be happy to see, okay, well, Ross got a win. We'll have to check in on Brennan when we can. But for now, we check in on the sideboards here. Is Chad Harney up a game in his match in the Grixis Delver Mirror. We'll start with Tan and Grace, who's got 2 Diabolic Edict, 2 Abrade, 2 Pyroblast, 2 Surgical Extraction, 7 1-ofs in Price of Progress, Null Rod, Marsh Casualties, Pithing Needle, Grim Lavamancer, Liliana the Last Hope, and the Flusterstorm. Todd, what do you want in a mirror? I know you've got some experience playing Delver decks.
Yeah, so the mirror is all about trading resources one for one and hoping that yours is the last one to come out on top. You want cards that are fairly cheap because Wasteland has a big impact. And now that neither player has access to Deathrite Shaman thanks to its ban, cards like Wasteland are going to have a lot more importance placed on them, and your cheap spells are going to also have a lot more importance placed on them. I like Pyroblast as just a generic answer to things like Delver of Secrets, but they also can counter something like True Name Nemesis while it's on the stack, which is one of the most tough cards to beat once it hits the battlefield in these mirrors. I like Abrade. I like just more generic removal. Edict lets you have some answers to the big threats like the Big Fish, Gurmag Angler, as well as True Name Nemesis, though it does struggle if your opponent is able to resolve a Young Pyromancer. Marsh Casualties is a way to clear off Pyromancer and the tokens while also giving you a way to deal with True Name Nemesis. I like boarding out Force Wills. I think Force Will is pretty bad in the mirror match, even though it can stop a Big Fish or a True Name Nemesis, who I guess is a medium fish, right? He's a merfolk.
I call it a medium fish.
There you go. Okay.
Not a real big fish, medium fish.
Even though Force Will can help you win the fights over the big creatures, a 2-for-1 disadvantage is not something you want in these matchups. You just want to bring in cards that can answer a number of threats, and you see Grim Lavamancer Liliana also can do that as well.
Other side of things here for Chad Harney, 2 Pyroblast, 2 Surgical Extraction, 2 Abrade, 2 Diabolic Edict. He's also got 7 of. Some of them may look familiar. 1 Null Rod, 1 Flusterstorm, a Dreaded Knight of Price of Progress, a Liliana Last of Marsh Casualties, and a card that Tannen doesn't have that he could lose to here in Bitter Blossom.
Yeah, I really like the Bitter Blossom for the mirror matches or any grindy match. If you're able to play that on turn 2 and protect it, not only does it just brick wall something like a Gurmag Angler for the rest of the game, but it also gives you a recurring threat that spot removal doesn't really do anything against. It can check an opposing Young Pyromancer without you having to play a bunch of instants and sorceries, and it just gives you a powerful threat that your opponent has a tough time interacting with. Other than that, everything basically stands the same that I talked about with Tannen. You just want cards that are good at answering 1-for-1 on all these really tough-to-beat threats.
Well, these players are going to shuffle up here and get ready for game number 2. While they do that, we want to let you know where the SCG Tour is headed for the rest of 2018. Right now, we are in Dallas, Texas. Next weekend, we're headed to Baltimore, beautiful Charm City, where Patrick Sullivan and Nick Miller and myself, along with the rest of the SCG Tour crew, we're going to be bringing you a Modern main event, and that means coverage of Modern as well. Take a little break before we head to Syracuse for some more Modern action. Then we'll do a little team open. Not that weekend, pardon me. Baltimore will be Legacy. Then we'll do a team open in Columbus. That'll be the Guilds of Ravnica release weekend team open. Celebrate that new set. Should be a lot of fun for Magic. Then Philadelphia for some more team action. Dallas will be back here for Modern October 20th and the 21st. Charlotte for Modern October 27th and the 28th. Regional Championships. Go to starcitygames.com/regionals for more information soon enough. Vegas, where Todd, we know you'll be, quote, throwing dice, unquote.
I mean, I know it has it on camera, but I plead the 5th.
Okay, perfect. November 17th and the 18th. I'm sure no one's already made a Twitch highlight of that. Baltimore, December 1st and the 2nd for Modern Open. And then Season 2 Invitational Weekend, December 7th through the 9th. Modern Standard with a Modern top 8. Of course, we got to talk playmats very quickly here, so we will. Siege Gang Commander from Dominaria for all of our Standard Open and Classic players. Alana War Elves for all of our Modern Open and Classic players. And then Wizards Lightning for all of our Legacy Open and Classic players. Free exclusive playmats here for Season 2 of the SCG Tour for those who play in Opens Classics or purchase that Infinite Challenge package. Go to starcitygames.com/schedule to find out exactly
not how you say that word.
Where we are going and when we are going there. As we get ready here for game number 2 of the Grixis Delvermere between Chad Harney and Tannen Grace. You see the scoreboard. Ross, he won his first game against Joe, and then Brennan, he won game number 1 against John Philip Whetstone. So the team of Grace, Merriam, and DeCandio currently ahead, looking to successfully get Tannen Grace a trophy.
Yeah, that's a big deal for Ross to take down Game 1 against the Red-Black Vengevine deck. His sideboard doesn't offer a lot of help, whereas the Vengevine deck can have some more tools to interact with the creatures from human side of things. So him taking down that pre-board game is definitely huge for the team BCW. You know, Brendan DeCandio's matchup against Mono Red Aggro is not easy either. I know that I picked him to win the matchup, but you can get steamrolled sometimes. I would not be surprised to see John Philip Whetstone just obliterate DeCandio when he's on the play in Game 2. And then we'll have a really close Game 3. Maybe we can watch it if Tannen ends up losing this game.
Be a fun match to watch. I kind of dig the standard matches that involve Mono Red Aggro. That deck's kind of interesting to me just because the power level of the deck is so low, in my opinion, but the goal of the deck is very obvious, which is I want to play 5, maybe 6 turns. and that's about it. Volcanic Island, Delver of Secrets. Get things started here for Tan and Grace.
Yep. Chad has an option here to either Lightning Bolt main phase, Lightning Bolt at some point on Tannen's turn, or to just play a Delver of Secrets of his own. You want to play around days as much as possible, but when you're on the draw, it becomes a little bit harder to do exactly that.
It's actually going to be a Pyroblast here.
No, and that's a reasonable play. He might want to save Lightning Bolt to take care of Young Pyromancer next turn, a card that could get out of control, and you need to make sure you use the right removal spells to handle the right threats in this matchup.
So Chad Harney will take care of the Delver of Secrets. We'll head back over to Tan and Grace. Is it a Wasteland party once again?
As far as I can tell, neither player has access to Wasteland as of yet.
Well, there's Young Pyromancer at the top. This is exactly what you were talking about. You got to use the right removal spell for the right cards. Now you see in Chad Harney's hand, he does have access to Daze. Daze is going to resolve, so we're going to head back. Excuse me, Young Pyromancer is going to resolve. Daze will not be cast. As we head back over to Chad Harney, who does have that Lightning Bolt in hand. He'll play an Underground Sea. Now he'll fire off the bolt.
I love this sequencing from Chad. He obviously knows what he's doing in these Grixis mirrors, and that's why he's here in the top 4.
There is a Delver of Secrets. That will resolve. We head back over to Tan and Grace. Grace will draw a card here. Thus far, Grace's attempts have not really led him anywhere.
So this Edict does check the Delver pretty well, and he has the land to play around Daze. However, that is a really potent card if your opponent finishes with something like Gurmag Angler or True Name Nemesis in a few turns. So you have to be careful. Like I said, you need to use the right removal spells on the right creatures. And it could be important for Tanner here to play something like a Ponder, even maybe Brainstorm, to find a different answer for Delver.
It's kind of interesting because I think he might be just going for True Name Nemesis and saying, I dare you to have a Daze here. And as we know, Chad has at least one, potentially 2 in his hand.
Yeah, he actually hit his Daze very well here. He had the option to just delve Young Pyromancer, so Tannen thought, you know, it's safe to go for it here. And he ended up getting max punished.
And now here's a Preordain. So Chad Harney, a name that we don't know all that well in the SCG Tour. We're starting to. He's no random here. You can definitely tell that he knows how to play Grixis Delver. There is Bitter Blossom.
That one's gonna be without that young Pyromancer or the True Name Nemesis.
This game might just be a runaway.
Bad.
Yeah, this is looking really bad here for Tan and Grace. We'll head back over to Grace. Looks like he picked up a copy of Wasteland a little late to the party.
Yeah, Wasteland would have been pretty nice last turn alongside like a Diabolic Edict to take care of the Delver. But now, after going for the True Name and having it hit with a Daze, he's just in a lot of trouble.
And Diabolic Edict looks horrible right now for Tan and Grace, so he's kind of got to cast it now to take care of the Insectile Aberration.
Yep, and he's going to have to try to race this Bitter Blossom in one way or another, but he's going to have trouble doing it without any actual pressure on the battlefield. Neither deck really has a good way to gain life, I don't believe, so the Bitter Blossom occasionally becomes a liability as the game progresses. You know, things like Lightning Bolt can sometimes steal it out of nowhere. You know all about Bitter Blossom and Fairies and in the old Fairies decks back in Standard. Sometimes things go the wrong way.
They do. Sometimes things certainly do go the wrong way, especially when you're trying to race them. Now, one way for Grace to be able to do that, of course, is to get a large creature on the battlefield. Gurmag Angler could be one. Even though, of course, Bitter Blossom can block it for a long time. Maybe if you kill one of the fairy tokens, you get a 5 points of damage in, then you can have Bitter Blossom kill them. But the key to the puzzle is True Name Nemesis.
Yeah, being unblockable effectively is a very big deal against Bitter Blossom. However, Tannen, I think, only has 2 in his 75, and he's already gone through 1.
Now there is a Ponder. Looks like Chad Harney is going to shuffle. Chad Harney is certainly ahead right now, but things can certainly change quickly in mirror matches, especially this one. Harney also has more cards in hand than Tan and Grace, and he's got another card coming.
Yeah, but he doesn't have another land yet, which is why you saw him shuffle on Ponder.
And it doesn't look like he picked one up either.
No, he's looking for more lands to be able to cast his own True Name Nemesis, but until he finds land number 2, oh, baby!
And I think Tannen actually drew that True Name. There
yes,
we go.
He did.
That's what he needed to find to be able to win this game, and it looks like he just found it. And he will pass the turn back over to Chad Harney. Huge draw there for Tan and Grace. Bitter Blossom will bring another Aurilax Fairy token on the battlefield, but in a game where Chad Harney had a commanding advantage, now he needs to find something like a Diabolic Edict or Marsh Casualties and the land to cast it. He will start by playing a Brainstorm. Brainstorm's going to resolve. 3 cards coming here for Harney. 2 will go back. And obviously he needs to find some lands. And it looks like he did find some lands in Wasteland, but that's not exactly what the doctor ordered in this spot.
No, he found a bunch of lands this turn, but... you know, wow, that's a big deal, too. That could just hold True Name Nemesis back. That 5 chunk is a lot. Tannen needs to find some way to be able to deal with Gurmag, or at least match it with a Gurmag of his own, so he can actually start dealing damage with that True Name Nemesis.
Yeah, this is interesting here. Gurmag Angler showing up, meaning that True Name Nemesis might not be able to attack, so Grace will draw a card. He's going to start his turn off with a Preordain. Not a bad place to start, as he scries 2. Looks like he did find a Gurmag Angler of his own. These two players are going back and forth and back and forth. And Grace will draw.
Now, it's important to note Tannen really needs to play this Gurmag Angler before he decides to attack with True Name Nemesis, because if for some reason it doesn't resolve thanks to Force of Will or something like that, he doesn't want to leave the shields down against that opposing Gurmag Angler.
Well, here is that Gurmag Angler, and that looks like it's going to resolve. Okay.
Yeah, you're not going to beat the Bitter Blossom in the long run. I think you just have to chunk in for 3. You're willing to trade your Gurmag for theirs. But Bitter Blossom is looming.
Well, Bitter Blossom going to bring Chad Harney down a little bit lower, 15-13 right now in favor of Grace. But this is certainly anyone's game now because that True Name Nemesis did show up. Here is the attack. You know that Grace is going to try to trade. It will work. It's 13-13 now. Wasteland in hand there for Harney. This is a True Name Nemesis of his own. Boy.
And Tannen not having the answer here. It's a mirror match, sure. He really needs to find his one of Marsh casualties, or just like a string of lightning bolts to deal those last few points of damage. Otherwise, he's facing down 6 power. He can't really block. And he's at 13 as well as his opponent being at 13.
Well, you did mention Marsh casualties. That would be a big draw here as we're all tied up in our modern match. Joe Stempo able to beat Ross Merriam in game number 2. So Red, Black, Vengevine and Humans are going to a 3rd and final game. Merriam will be on the play for that one.
Inquisition of Kozilek's an interesting one here. He clears the way in case he draws something next turn. He also takes away the ability of Preordain to find another threat or some way to protect from Marsh casualties.
A Bitter Blossom token will be made. Down to 12. I think maybe actually even a little bit lower. Here's an attack for 6.
Yeah, he should be at 8, I believe. 3 from the True Name, or sorry, 1 from the Bitter Blossom and 3, so he should be at 9.
Both red sources are gone.
That's not the one you should target.
I think you want to go after the black one in case he peels Marsh casualties.
Oh,
he drew
no.
a Gurmag Angler.
That's not enough.
That is not enough. Tannen Grace is going to concede the game, and that means that Chad Harney wins the match here over Tannen Grace. 2-0. Grixis Delver, the mirror goes to the player on your left, and for the team of Harney, Stempo, and John Philip Whetstone, they are now up a match. Very, very impressive. As now we prepare to watch Ross Merriam and Joe Stempo.
Yeah, we got a game 3 here. This one hugely important for hashtag team Get Tannen a Trophy.
That's the goal here for Grace Merriam and DeCandio, Team BCW, who are making another deep run in a team-constructed open here on the SCG Tour. And you see Stempo taking a drink. He's relaxed and ready to roll. DeCandio currently up a game here over John Philip Whetstone. Ross is checking in on that. And while Ross checks in on that, we are going to talk about the StarCityGames.com YouTube page, where you can watch a whole bunch of fantastic content whenever you'd like the Versus series with Todd Anderson, Todd Stevens, Ross Merriam, and Brad Nelson. Commander Versus with Jeremy Knoll, Jonathan Suarez, Justin Parnell, your host, and the cream of the crop, the American Dream, Stephen Green. Flashback
Green Machine.
Flashback, what you saw a couple times today with Todd Anderson. We also had an episode with Jim Davis, and we got more of those coming out here for you. It appears as though you do like that feature, so we're happy to continue to bring more of those to you. Our best of SCG Tour moments, replays of the SCG Tour, and a whole bunch more. Subscribe today. Become one over 100,000 subscribers over at youtube.com/StarCityGames. And thank you to each and every single one of our subscribers for following along to our page as we get ready now for game 3 between the boss, Ross Merriam. I can't call him the boss.
You cannot call him that.
Well, Tom left. Tom left, okay?
He went to a better place.
Tom left, and we need a new boss around these parts. So, it's the boss. It's the boss, M. Ross.
The director just told me that Tom Ross regularly cheers bits on Twitch. He's the top bit cheer on our.
I respect that. All right, you know what?
Oh,
I take
that's
it back.
gas.
He's still the boss.
Oh.
He's the boss of the bits now. We miss Tom Ross dusting people up with Infect and 8-rack. You are missed, Boss Mage.
I miss Tom. I miss playing Mortal Kombat with him.
Did you ever win?
Yeah, all the time. It made him furious.
Tom doesn't lose it much, dude.
I know.
I've tried to beat Tom at things.
I'm pretty sure I'm roughly 80% against him on Mortal Kombat, and it made him so mad.
Who did he play as?
He always played as Melina. I was always Jason.
You were always Jason, yeah.
This is MK10 specifically, by the way.
I remember when I lived in Roanoke. You guys would play at the, what was the name of that place?
I went there the other day.
Schooners.
Schooners.
There you go.
Schooners.
Well,
like the boat.
It looks like DeCandio was able to win his match over John Philip Whetstone, so it all comes down to this.
Three-headed giant.
Merriam, Stempo. Winner goes on to the finals. DeCandio, ever the confident Black Blue mid-range player. I'll give him some credit here this weekend. Brennan's always very confident when he plays Magic, but he backed it up this weekend.
Yeah, he's been crushing it all weekend with this Black Blue mid-range deck inspired by Corey Burkhart last weekend. Very excited to see this archetype make a comeback. It was one of my favorite decks to play months ago, and I'm looking forward to playing again very soon. I'm
getting ready here for Game 3. Vengevine Humans, two very popular decks. This Red-Black Vengevine deck broke out at Pro Tour 25th anniversary. And then, of course, Humans put 2 copies into the top 4 Pro Tour 25th anniversary. Humans kind of the mainstay, Red-Black Vengevine, the new kid on the block. And I have a feeling we'll see a lot of both next week in SCG Baltimore, and hopefully we'll see you there in Charm City for a Modern Open that, if I were a betting man, which I am, at the Horseshoe in Baltimore,
I'm going to Maryland Live, baby.
I actually go to Maryland Live.
I know. I was there with you last time.
Don't remind me. It was not a good time there.
Oh, I won like $1,200. It was my birthday.
Must be so nice to win.
Dude, it was my birthday, and I won like $1,200. It was great.
Must be so nice to win. If I were a betting man, I'd bet that event sells out.
Yes,
so I'd register early.
Soon.
I'd register early.
Make sure you guarantee your seat. Otherwise, you could be left on the sidelines.
That's right.
Thinking, what if?
That's right.
I could win that $10,000, but I forgot to sign up in advance on online registration.
What you waiting for?
I don't know. Waiting for it to sell out so they can complain on Twitter.
People don't complain on Twitter. What are you talking about?
This is a really tough mulligan decision for Ross, apparently. He's on the play here. I think he may have already mulliganed once. I think both players may have already mulliganed once. They've been shuffling for quite a while. But this is their tournament on the line. This is Game 3. Ross is on the play, and if this hand's not good enough, he might just have to ship it back and hope for a better one.
Both taking a look at 7 cards right now.
Conferring with teammates to make sure he makes the right decision.
Yeah.
It's a gamble. It's clearly, if he keeps it, he's clearly gambling a little bit.
All right, well, Joe Stempo, I think, was always mulliganing. He was like, are you just Ross? Would you just already? Come on. So both players are going to head down to 6. I can let you know about our other match here very quickly as well. It looks like Medeiros versus Dave Thomas. They're tied up at 1-1. Pitzer and Basako are tied up at 1-1, and then Jonathan Job is currently up a game. So if we have time to jump that way or move players over, of course we will. But while these players shuffle and get ready here for game number 3 to see who's going to move on to the finals, we learn a little bit more about Jeopardy contestant Ross Merriam, the 29-year-old from Connecticut with 22 now open top 8s and 4 open wins. I know, he is catching up to you.
Can we please just stop counting team opens as open top 8s?
Yeah.
Because like I've said, I don't have that many friends. You know, the team opens are really hard for me.
So if you top 4 the team PT, should we just not count it?
Top 4, sure. Top 8, I don't think should count.
Well, you can
effectively top 24.
You can only top 4 the team PT. So should we just not count it?
No, I think top 4ing the team PT is fine. I think top 4ing the team open is fine.
That's the dumbest thing you've ever said.
It's top 24 people at the event.
Top 8's top 8, man.
Like, you're just changing the goalposts.
I'm not, though.
You're making it so much easier.
I'm not. I'm doing everyone a favor
by
doing things.
I just want to point out Tannen Grace's results on the SCG Tour before we started doing team events. Not very good. 6 top 8s this year. 5 of them team events.
Good for him. He found a deck that works.
No, that's true. He's been killing it in Legacy. I'm not trying to detract from him. Me and Tannen are pretty good friends. I like to talk some smack.
I remember the Open that he top 8'd in Houston when we went there back in 2015. Top 8 with Mono Green Devotion because I remember all the things. All the things.
Your head is just full of useful information.
It really is.
Like, if you want about the mighty, mighty Boston.
If you want to know things about bad 90s music and Magic cards and SCG Tour results, I'm your guy. I'm your guy.
Or basketball information. Actually, that's probably Ross Merriam.
No, I know way more about basketball than Ross.
Historically, I think as far as historical information goes, that man just spouts off random garbage statistics like, and I don't even ask him to. He just starts talking about the 1975 Utah Jazz lineup and how that year, you know, they had a really tough go at it against the Milwaukee Bucks because of this and that player, you know.
He probably knows more about the Utah Jazz than I do, but why would anyone care about the Jazz?
Because of Karl Malone, the postman.
That's not
delivering it right to your door.
That was not his job.
I thought he worked for UPS.
He was a mailman, not a postman. Yeah, it was not. Yeah, it's not Post Malone. He's the mailman.
You think that's where Post Malone got his name from?
I'm not quite sure where he got his name, or the idea that face tattoos are a good idea,
or that hair.
Yeah.
Post Malone,
if you're watching, all right. What's going on?
All right, I'm going to say something that's pretty mean.
This is not. You could stop yourself.
You
could stop yourself.
He looks like he smells like a wet dish rag.
I don't. Why? Why? Why?
It's late in the day. I'm just gonna say stuff.
Great. Yeah. You could not.
Was that too much?
I don't. Well, it's already. We can't like make it disappear. It's there now in the ether.
Just like Post Malone's odor.
Yeah. There you go. Looks like Ross is on a mulligan to 5. Stempo on a mulligan to 6.
All right, we got keeps. We're going to take some scries here.
Ross is going to scry top card to the bottom.
Now, cards like Militia Bugler aren't particularly great in this matchup because it's more for matchups that are kind of grindy and slow. But on a mulligan to 5, I think it would be a welcome card to find here. The 2/3 body, very relevant against the horde of zombies that are all 2/2s, as well as just finding more creatures to put on the battlefield to play defense and offense.
Looks like we're in a Faithless Looting to start here for Chad Harney.
If he discards some bridge from below here, that could be bad for Ross. I'm not positive he actually has access to one, though.
Couple of cards can be placed in the graveyard there. Looks like a Gravecrawler among them.
Yeah, a Gravecrawler and a land, so nothing really super scary for Ross right now. And he has one of his best starts on the play here. The 3/3 flyer, Mana Strider, +1 from the Noble Hierarch Exalted, and it flies. Most of the creatures from Chad's side of the battlefield are all ground pounders or just can't block.
Stitcher Supplier, Walking Ballista, Gravecrawler, Hangerback Walker.
Still no bridges. The card that matters the most from this red-black Vengevine deck.
Blackleaf Cliffs is going to allow Stempo to bring back your Gravecrawler, and if that's all he's doing this turn, Ross has got to be thrilled.
Yeah, Mana Strider plays a great job at defense and offense.
Oh, well.
Ooh, baby.
Making it look easy now. 2 Mana Striders follow up is a Vile past the turn back.
Ooh, that's nice. This Vengevine deck does not have a lot in the way of interaction. Stempo needs to find something like Walking Ballista to be able to take care of that Phantasmal image, or else he could be dead here in 2 turns.
Well, it looks like he does have a Walking Ballista in hand. So that's a start here for Joe, but he's got to craft a game plan here right now because his draw is not particularly explosive. Ross is on a mulligan to 5. He's going to start by attacking with Stitcher Supplier and Gravecrawler. So that's kind of the easy part in this instance.
I like blocking here with the Phantasmal image on the Gravecrawler.
Yeah, free block.
You don't want the Stitcher Supplier to go to the graveyard for free because that free mill 3 could find Bridge from Below or Vengevine. And if he has any sort of damage effect that could kill Phantasmal image, it would kill it anyway because of the illusion ability.
Yeah, this actually strikes me as a pretty free block here for Ross. If that thing, if that Phantasmal image was going to die, it would die anyway. So I'm curious about. Yeah, okay. So he does block. He's going to take 1 point of damage. I really like that block there from Ross.
Yeah, and we've seen time and time again this weekend this Vengevine deck. If it doesn't get Bridge from Below into the graveyard early, it doesn't really do a whole lot. It draws a bunch of things like Hangerback Walker and Walking Ballista that aren't very explosive when the deck is trying to, you know, function on 2 lands or less.
Well, we can tell you who is on to the finals, and it is the team of Dave Thomas.
Yes.
Brian Basoko and Jonathan Job on to the finals to play the winner of this match. And right now, it looks like it could be Team BCW that's moving on, unless Joe Stempo's got something to say about that. And he's got to do it pretty quickly. He's already at 10. His draw is not particularly explosive, and he's got to find a way to stop these Mantis Riders, plural.
Yeah, not Hangback Walker. The Walking Ballista can pretty easily take care of the Phantasmal Image here, since targeting it with anything does kill it. But he still has to deal with that other Mantis Rider. And if I'm Ross Merriam, I might not even attack here with a Phantasmal Image Mantis Rider, just because you know it's probably going to die. Well, now I think you attack with all 3.
Oh yeah, you want to attack with all 3 now.
Okay. Well, obviously you deal more damage. But if you don't attack with all 3, you give Stempo the option to draw an untapped land and then put a counter on the Walking Ballista and kill both Phantasmal Images next turn.
Indeed you do, and that's why Ross did attack with all 3. Stempo is going to play an Insolent Neonate. Boy, he needs to find something nice here. He's going to discard a card and draw a card.
He found a bridge, but I think it's a bridge too far.
I think it might be a little too late. Draw a card. Ross Merriam sitting here waiting patiently.
Now, Stempo's deck doesn't really have a whole lot in the way of dealing with a 3/3 flyer. Mostly it came down to a race, and I think he lost it.
It'll be a Goblin Bushwhacker, it appears. And if it is a Goblin Bushwhacker with kicker, it doesn't matter. It's a Walking Ballista. That can come in. That can take care of the Phantasmal Image Mantis Rider. But you can see Stempo, he can't believe on a mulligan to 5, Merriam had turn 2 Mantis Rider, turn 3 copy it, turn 4 copy it, and there's nothing he could do to beat it. He will use this to shoot that. He'll make a zombie, of course, because of the bridge. He'll lose the bridge because of the Phantom Image going to the graveyard. Merriam's going to tick up the vial, draw his card, and, well, why not play a Thalia just to make sure nothing goes wrong? Attack there for 4, and that is going to do it. Ross Merriam going to win this match here over Joe Stempo, and that means the team of Tanner Grace,
done.
Ross Merriam, Brendan DeCandio, they are moving on to the finals to play against David